Hey guys, welcome to 777 Tech. This is me, this is MyPc. I'm Cody, like and subscribe. Let's get to the build. Alright, starting off from the right, we got a MSI B450M Gaming Plus motherboard with a Ryzen 5 2600. Then we have a Sapphire Nitro RX 5700 XT with a 1TB NVMe SSD and a Seagate Barracuda 8TB hard drive with a Corsair CX650M, which is a 650 watt PSU power supply. Then we have a Arctic Freezer eSport 34 Duo, which is our air cooler. Let's see, we have the Corsair Vengeance LPX, which is two 16GB sticks of RAM, which my motherboard only supports 32 GB at max. Some fans, which I've already pre-installed in the case, which the case is a Segotep Phoenix. And the fans are just Cool Moon fans, some off-brand market fans. Alright, let's get to the build. Alright, first thing you're going to want to do is install the CPU. I've already got mine installed, but just to show you how it's done, you pull this lever back. This is an AM4 socket, and this is our processor. You don't want to touch those pins right there, because you can bend them. They're just little copper pins. What you want to do is you want to find a little triangle at the corner of your CPU, and then you're going to find a little triangle or dot on the motherboard. You're going to line those up. It should just drop right in. You give it a little wiggle, make sure it's in there, and you're going to let this lever down. And what that does is it gives tension on those little pins, and it actually, I think it gives tension to the CPU, and then basically it keeps it in there. Although I have had trouble in the past where you pull the CPU cooler off and it'll take the CPU out with it. So be very careful. If you ever have to remove the CPU cooler, make sure that you give it a little wiggle.
Wiggle, 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 yeah.
What I'm going to do is, because I got a fingerprint on this dang thing, give it a little rub down with alcohol wipe. Alright, I've already installed the back plate to this motherboard. Won't quite install the CPU cooler just yet. Alright, next thing, we're going to install our RAM. You want to look at your RAM here. You have a little notch. It's not quite halfway. Halfway would be about right there, I'd say, ish. So you want to make sure on your DIMM slot, your RAM DIMM slot, it's got a little notch. You want to make sure that lines up with the small and the big end. Make sure you have your little levers here on your DIMM slots open. This one only has one side. Well, some of them have two. I've never seen too many that have one side, but I guess that's something they're incorporating nowadays. It has some kind of mechanism on this side that holds it in. Just going to want to put this in each side. There's a little slot. Make sure your little notch lines up with the notch on the motherboard. Just want to push that in until you hear a click. Now if you're running 4 slots, you usually want to run one and then skip one and then run the next one. But since I only have 2 DIMM slots, it doesn't really matter. Alright, there's the RAM. I'm going to go ahead and install our NVMe SSD drive. You want to line the notch up on that as well. I believe there's one where it has a notch on this side, and then there's one where it has a notch on that side, and then it has one where there's a notch on each side, which can go in either one from my understanding. This one only has 1 notch, so you put it in this little slot right here at your NVMe SSD slot. Find a little, make sure you don't lose that little screw there. They are a pain in the butt, which is why I'm doing it outside of the case instead of inside of the case. Because I have lost this before. You gotta tighten it down too tight. You might strip it out, you never know. And that little bad boy's in.
I'm a bad boy.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come?
Alright, this is the Segotep Phoenix case. This is what we're gonna be installing our PC in. We're going to get these side panels off. It's a really well built case. Believe it or not, I have actually never seen a case this heavy before, but I haven't really bought a lot of really expensive cases. This one isn't really expensive, it's more like $120 range, I want to say. I've already put my fans in it, so fans are not included with this case. We're going to go ahead and install the motherboard, but first make sure that you install your I/O shield. Always want to put that in, otherwise it looks like crap. You know, the technical stuff. You want to make sure you have all your standoffs. You have all the ones that you need for the specified motherboard that you have. I have a micro ATX motherboard, so I only need these screws right here. These 3 right here, I didn't bother to remove them. I'm lazy, I don't care, whatever. And yeah, so let's do this. Grab this, make sure I don't rip it apart. My suggestion would be to put the ones in the very front first, the ones that are away from the I/O shield. That way you can get it to hold them in there, or hold the motherboard in there, I suppose. That way it don't go sliding around on you. Yep. Get all these put in. You don't necessarily, I guess, have to put them all in, but for safety measures, to make sure it's sturdy, you got a lot of components to be hanging off this motherboard, so it's always good to get as much support as you can, mentally and physically. Make sure you try not to drop any of these screws down in there. You could scratch the motherboard and then you got a dead motherboard. Not a good idea. Not at all. Okay. Alright. Now let's go ahead and install our air cooler. Make sure you got your thermal paste. That's one thing you never want to forget when you're building a PC. That's one thing that could be overlooked really easy. I got it's the Thermal Grizzly Cryo Knot. It's good stuff. I've been using it for a good year or so now. You just got to put a good pea size portion on it. Just enough to get around the whole surface of it. Whenever you put this air cooler on it, it should compress that. This is the Arctic Breezer eSport 34 Duo. It's a really good CPU cooler for the CPU I'm putting it on. Not saying it's the best out there, but for what it does, and this thing does a good job. Say max temps are about 64 degrees when I'm playing games. One thing that sucks about building a PC with an aftermarket cooler, especially down on the ground like this, or down on the desk flat like this, is you can't get to your back plate. So it kind of sucks because it'll sag right below the air cooler. So you have to pull up on these little notches, or the air cooler, you have to pull up on the back plate just to get it to screw down. Now make sure you don't put them on, screw them down all the way tight at first. Kind of like screwing down a car tire. You want to go in alternating pattern. Do a couple turns, diagonal. Couple turns, diagonal. Or a little sideways, I guess. Then diagonal. You get the gist of it. I ain't no rocket scientist. Got that put on. We are going to go ahead and put the GPU in. Graphics card. GPU graphics card. Make sure you pull these. For some reason, I don't know why the hell they ever have the first one, because you never really have to pull the first one. I never had to. Just doesn't line up with my motherboard. Happens, I guess. And my graphics card it's a 2.5 slot, so it takes up 2.5 slots. Luckily this case is just big enough for this SOB. Pop it right in there. Make sure you hear that click. Clickety clack, clackety click. Screw her in there. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I do it for stability reasons. Alright. She's in there nice and tight. What is left? We got the power supply, and we have the hard drive. Oh, we got fans. We have fans. We're going to do a push-pull. So we're going to pull air from this way and push it this way. So. These little clips are pretty simple. If you ever need to learn how to do these, message me in the comments and I'll teach you how to do these. But they're pretty simple and I don't think you need me. Alright. America. Alright, you have 4 hard drive spots available, it looks like. There's 2 SSDs, and then you have 2 traditional hard drive slots right here. We're going to be using one of these. They have little thumb screws right here that you can loosen. I'm going to be using this one right here because it seems the most convenient. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And then it's got these little rubber grommets in there to keep the hard drives from vibrating so much. I thought that was kind of neat. And it also has the included screws for the hard drive. Hell yeah. Alright. I'm going to take our Barracuda drive, and you want to insert it in the back because the front is blocked by this thumb screw right here, so there's no way you're getting it through the front. You just slide that on in through the back there. Be a little rough with these rubber grommets. They tend to stop it up a little bit, especially if they get caught in there. Daddy always said to always put them in with your fingers first, and then you tighten them with the screwdriver. Just about got her fingered out. Let's go ahead and put in PSU, our power supply. You're gonna find you're gonna run into a lot of trouble if you don't plug up your cables first. It is a pain in the butt to have to stick your hands in there. This is a semi-modular power supply, by the way, so if you have a regular power supply that's not modular, you won't have to worry about what I'm doing right now because it'll already be attached. Imagine that. Alright, we're going to drop this in with the fan facing down for ventilation. Alright. Nice and TIGHT. Make sure she don't wiggle. You don't want a power supply that wiggles. I don't think I've seen a power supply that wiggles, but you know.
Wiggle, 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 yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and connect up the hard drive now. Now if you look real closely, you can see there's a certain little L shape on these connectors. Okay, we're gonna put the hard drive in now. We're gonna go ahead and take our data cable and we're gonna put it right in here in the smallest slot. And then our power cable is gonna go right here. Go ahead and slide this in, get it connected up before we connect up the power. Alright. Now we're going to run this through the bottom little loop. Down through here. We're going to go ahead and run all our wires. Run it through the little grommets and stuff that they go through. Turn this around. Alright. Power cord. Or motherboard power, I should say. Alright. I'm gonna plug our hard drive right in her. Alright, make sure you hear a good click. Okay. Run this through the bottom here. Sometimes things can be a pain in the butt. Don't get frustrated, otherwise you might screw something up like I have. Alright, we're going to go ahead and plug these in to our graphics card, the double 8 pin, or double 8 pin. Okay. Trust me, it's way easier than I'm making it look. If you have a want and a desire to build a PC, I highly encourage you to do it. It's been the most fun thing I've ever done. Get your creative juices flowing. Just something good to learn nowadays. A lot of people back in the day didn't think that this was going to go anywhere. We are also using a fan splitter. Mainly because I don't have to route these two fans to different spots. Alright, plug this in. Then we do our 8-pin CPU power. Never been so hard. Alright. She's in. Okay. Tidy this up a little bit. Hey guys, I'm John Cena. You can't see me. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm hooking up my hard drive power. Tidying up some cables. Plug in our USB 3. I have a USB-C, but I don't have a port to put it on. The USB, regular USB, I should say. Okay. Alright. Now we get to do our power. It's always a good thing to refer to your manual when you're doing something like this. For the most part, they're the same, but I like to double check. Okay, so on this motherboard, it looks like this is the reset, and this is a hard drive switch, or the LED reset switch, and then the hard drive LED. And on the other side, you have the power LED, and then you have the power switch, which is at the bottom. Okay. Double check everything. Sure everything's good. Motherboard, CPU, fans. Let's get her started up. Alright, that's my PC. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, like and subscribe if you like the content. I'm going to try to bring you guys more content in the future. Until next time, have a good day. See you later.